Well, this is a follow-on to the videos about EGR port cleanout. This is a 2002, but it has the 3.5 liter vtech, and where most of the instructions actually have you removing the intake manifold. Here, it turns out on this particular engine there's a cover which you can remove. Michael, bring the cover over here. Let's just have a look at it. There's a cover that looks like this, and what you can see here, if we look at these ports here, here are the intake for the 6-cylinder engine. And you notice these ports right here, there's 6 of them, one for each of the, and these are the exhaust gas recirculation. The exhaust gas comes up here from this big port here, as you can see, and then it comes into this chamber. This is the top part of it. It's divided right here and flows through these passages and these passageways to each of these holes here, which are perfectly made up with the holes that you see in the intake. You have a hole here, one here, and one here. And they made up with those holes, so the exhaust gas actually flows through these passages. When we took this thing off, we've been cleaning on it for a little while. We took this thing off. This was completely plugged with carbon. You couldn't even see the passageways because it was totally plugged with carbon, totally flush up, and each of these holes was completely plugged. We've been working on that with carburetor cleaner and a brush. What we did to clean these holes out, these holes actually will go all the way through into the intakes. And what I did is I started with a small drill bit and just inserted it like so, and cleaned out the began to clean out the hole. We also used a shop vac, held the nozzle near the hole to just suck this stuff in. It really won't hurt for the stuff to drop down in because it'll just be sucked through and burned ultimately, but we didn't want to drop any more than we had to in there, so I used a shop vac alongside the drill bit as I was using it as a sort of a reamer, and I just worked my way up using a small drill bit. Finally was able to get to an 11/30 seconds. 11/30 seconds was the biggest drill bit that would fit in there without actually damaging the metal. You certainly don't want to damage any of the metal or parts. But these holes that you see here, like for instance there's one right here, that was completely plugged flush with carbon. All of these 6 holes were completely plugged, and of course that caused the engine exhaust gas code to come on for insufficient flow. But the good news is here for all you backyard mechanics is that Honda's improved this so that, from maintenance point of view, so that unlike the earlier models where this was on the underside and you had to actually remove the manifold, all you have to do is remove this top cover and the gasket. Just retain the gasket because you can reuse it to get access to the whole EGR system for cleaning. There is a hole down here in the center part. It's kind of hard to see the way the sunlight's on, but there's a hole right down the middle. That's where the exhaust gas comes up. And again, this was very, very grungy with carbon. And we used a shop vac, carburetor cleaner, rags, scraping tool, basically a flat blade screwdriver, to very carefully remove most of the carbon buildup. But we expect to have a good result because it was totally plugged. This engine has 220,000 miles on it, and as far as I know that service has never been done. So it was just completely plugged with carbon before the exhaust gas light came on. Anyway, we'll post this up for additional reference to those that might be tempted to deal with the exhaust gas recirc problem themselves and save a few $100 in the process.